Good afternoon again, and welcome to this 10th year anniversary celebration of the African American Studies program here at Georgetown University. Again, we are thrilled to be here to be partaking in this moment and to have watched the program grow over this 10-year history. The African American Studies program at Georgetown actually began with the seed money from an alum, Valerie Lancaster Bill, in conjunction with some student involvement with the process. And so at that moment in 2003, which was when in the spring semester of 2003, when the program actually began, Dr. Angela Mitchell stepped forward under the guidance of Dean McCullough at the time to be the founding director of the African American Studies program, and has served faithfully and dutifully and diligently since the since the spring semester of 2003 up until the end of the spring semester of 2013. And so we're here to celebrate that and to show you what the program is doing, has done, and to think about where we're going from there. At the present time, I would ask one of our minors and one of the students at Georgetown, Lindsay Turner, to come forward to bring us the invocation.
Hi, everyone. We can just bow our heads and talk to God. Father, thank you for being our friend, our love, and our flawless Lord. Today we're here remembering the moment 10 years ago when Professor Angela Mitchell stepped out in the faith and boldness that only comes from you to found Georgetown's African American Studies program for the freedom and the excitement of your people. Father, we thank you today for her life and for the intelligent mind you blessed her with, and for the talents that she so willingly shares with us. Lord, we're inviting you into the celebration today because we believe that the fullness and truth of life is only where you are. Father, please show us what it means during the celebration to be a people, a culture, and a program that find all of our hope in you. We love you, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
So part of how we structured the program is through video reflection, and through live testimony. And so the videos are divided into three aspects, and those aspects reflect the program as a more broader entity. Then the videos talk about Dr. Mitchell's scholarship and impact on the field, and then finally we conclude with the many thanks that the students and the broader Georgetown community wanted to give to Dr. Mitchell, and should have these as a keepsake, and the program itself will have that as a part of our history. And so, as with most things, even though we have a program and a ceremony, we're being flexible because of other time demands. So we're going to move things around a little out of order. However, we're going to do everything that the ceremony says that we're going to do, just not in that order. And so we're actually going to have the video presentation next, and then we'll have remarks from President LaJoya and Provost Groves, and then we'll move back into the sequence of the program as well. So that's first amendment to the program.
Is to give back to my community. I feel like in giving back to my community, I must develop a deeper understanding of the systematic barriers that are put in place.
Because in high school, I was the only Black woman to graduate in my class, and I don't think I was surrounded by as much of my culture as I would have wanted to.
First of all, I didn't really get much education in the African American field in my previous schools, like high school and middle school, elementary, and everything. So,
as African American history was something that wasn't afforded to me in my education prior to coming to Georgetown. And I was really, really excited about the opportunity to learn more about our people and our history and our culture. And so the program really offered an opportunity for me to do that. I decided to take African American Studies class because I didn't want to be immersed in a class in which my heritage, my culture, and my Blackness was taught and was valued.
It was really, really exciting to me to get to college and to not just study literature, but to be able to study literature written by people who look like me, who think like me, who speak like me.
Well, sophomore year, I took Dr. Mitchell's Intro to African American Studies class, and her class just
my passion for the subject, and I had no choice but to continue.
Coming here and being a part of some of the courses that have been given to me, I have a better understanding of where I came from and what my forecomers had to go through, and seeing it's given me strength. So
I thought that African American Studies would be a great way to just learn about my history, learn about my culture, and if I want to make any type of impact in my community in the future, I think it's important that I be informed about the past, the issues that we're currently facing, and strategies that we can use to change things.
And it was really exciting to kind of take a break from Shakespeare and to read something written by a person of color, and just to see that perspective and how they portray the history of America.
More empowered about your race, about your identity, who you are, with knowing the people that came before you and knowing your history. So again, I think it really is a personal thing. I think they intersect with African American Studies. This really is our identity. It's how we live. It's our everyday life.
When it comes to race relations, I know growing up that when something was wrong, I never had the tools to say it, and now I actually have the tools to say it.
I think it has provided me such a rich understanding of what it means to be an African American in this day and age, and what it has meant historically, and how valuable it is right now, especially at Georgetown.
It was exciting to take gender and sexuality and to learn about Sarah Bartman all the way to the present day and the hypersexualization of the African American woman. And it was just even more fulfilling to not just have the literature component, but also the history component.
I think I'm coming out of Georgetown with a much better education than some of my peers because of the cultural competency that taking on minor in this subject has given me.
All the classes that I can name that are my favorite classes happen to have been IFAM classes. If I could have majored in it, I definitely would have. I have loved every class I've taken. I've loved the different things I've learned. I would have never expected that there were so many different elements of intersectionality.
As I progressed at Georgetown in my intellectual, professional, and personal experiences, I began to realize that my passion for African American studies extended into a career in academia, and now I actually want to become a professor.
My opinion that no student is justly served if they leave this campus without understanding the African American experience, because it is the key struggle of the oppressed of a people in this country, along with that of the Native Americans. And by studying this, one learns more about not just the history of African Americans, the history of the country itself.
African American Studies has been able to transform institutions by ensuring that the things that we learn in the classroom can influence the way that we deal with a changing and increasingly demanding nation that asks us to not only respect other people, but to also understand their perspectives and where they're coming from. African American Studies has revolutionized the conversation about power, about social issues, about creation, and about making sure that of their stories told.
As I perused the website, I saw the broad array of classes that are offered under the rubric of African American Studies. I wonder what would it take for us to move to the next level and establish an African American Studies major. I think with the program having been in existence now for 10 years, I think with a few other faculty lines, I would love to see it evolve into a major for our students.
And if Georgetown wants to compete with many of these institutions that it sees as its peers, I think we should be developing a viable and vibrant African American Studies department. I think African American Studies isn't something of the past, I think it's a wave of the future.
So part of the, one thing that got cut off when we started, so the first set of responses were from minors, and the question that they were responding to is, why did you decide to be a minor in African American Studies at Georgetown University? So that was the first question, obviously, and that's what they were responding to, and reflecting on their experiences. And so part of what, again, we want to keep as a this conversation and celebration is the role that we have with epistemology, changing the students' epistemology and their experiences at Georgetown in the context of their majors and the minor and the broader curriculum. President Jordan.
Thank you very much, Robert, and thank you for your leadership as director of our African American Studies program at Georgetown. It's truly a pleasure to be here with all of you today to celebrate the extraordinary contributions of this program, contributions that it has made to our community over the course of this past 10 years, and to recognize Professor Angie Mitchell for the impact that her leadership has had both on this program and then throughout our community. Each of you here, whether your connection to African American Studies is as a student, a current or former student, a member of the faculty, a member of university leadership, a member of our staff, each of you has played a role in the growth and strength and vibrancy of this program, and I want to thank you. It's also a privilege to have this opportunity to be here and to celebrate this moment during what is also Hoya Saxa weekend. And I hope that those of you who are here are having a wonderful time so far, having enjoyed all that life in this community has to offer. We seek to provide a context in which each member of our community can explore their interests, their passions, do their very best work, become their most authentic selves. For so many, throughout the last 10 years, African American Studies has been a place where that work has occurred, where that transformation through academic inquiry, through the irreplaceable impact of the student-professor relationship, where this has taken place. Students have gained a deeper understanding of themselves, a deeper understanding of our nature, of our nation, of our world. And our faculty have contributed through their scholarship both the academic and broader cultural discourse. Conversations about the establishment of this program first began in the late 1990s, when a need within our community was identified for a program in which our students could study from multiple disciplinary perspectives the experiences and contributions of people of African descent in the United States. And as you just saw, and as you'll hear throughout this program, in 2002, the program was approved through our curriculum committee, and with a generous donation from Valerie Lancaster Beal of the college class of 1976. Through this generous philanthropy, we were able to launch this program. And Angie Mitchell began serving as our director, as Robert mentioned, a role in which she served until just this past June. And truly, if it wasn't for her leadership and dedication, really an extraordinary commitment to see this program come alive, African American Studies at Georgetown would not have grown into the rich interdisciplinary program that we celebrate today. I know, Angie, I speak on behalf of everyone in this room in expressing our appreciation to you. I'm grateful for this opportunity to recognize you this afternoon, the generosity with which you have guided our students and exposed them to lines of inquiry that have opened and enriched their lives, the energy and deep insight that you have brought to your scholarship, and your vision and leadership have helped to ensure that the African American Studies program has become the extraordinary resource that it is for our community today. More broadly across our university, Angie's contributions have been a gift to so many of us, to so many students and colleagues, in so many different dimensions throughout her years here. You know, in every moment, we try to ensure that we're providing each other with the opportunities and with the experiences which will enable each of us to find the very best within ourselves and to bring out the very best in one another, and to ensure that this community is alive. We are heirs to one of the great traditions, perhaps the greatest tradition of learning that the world world has ever seen. And we're 225 years into it on this hilltop. It's a tradition that goes back nearly 500 years. But in the course of those 225 years, at different moments, we're asked to reimagine what does it mean for us to be what we are called to be, what we are meant to be as a university community, and to ensure that the resources are here for each one of us. You know, I was an undergraduate English major here at Georgetown a long time ago. But I remember I had the privilege of having some extraordinary faculty who introduced me to work that opened me to a whole new world. And at different points in time, I was experiencing in that moment the way in which they took responsibility for this community and enabled us to experience things that otherwise we just couldn't have. Now, some of you are here today who, in your own ways, have been able to do that for this community. I remember sitting in Harbin Hall Lounge in 1978. It's not even there at this point. We've used it for some other purpose. But Roland Flint brought Sterling Brown, who at that point was nearly 80 years old, to read to couldn't be more than 15 of us in a room. I'd never been exposed to anything like that before, to his poetry, to his witness. Well, for all of us in this community today, for the last 10 years, one of us, Angie Mitchell, determined that a way for us to be alive to this tradition and to ensure that we were doing everything in this moment to bring out the very best in one another and to provide the kind of opportunities for our students and for our faculty. That what that meant was developing this program in African American Studies. And we are all the better for it. And this is an opportunity for us to say thank you to Angie. So again, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be able to spend this time with all of you today. I want to thank everyone who's been a part of African American Studies here at Georgetown and whose contributions continue to ensure its growth and development. But especially I want to thank my dear friend Angie Mitchell for everything that she's done to make this possible. So thank you very much.
Provost Groves.
It's great to be with you today. And as Jack said, there are two reasons that we're here today. One is to say sort of happy birthday to a wonderful program. So I want to do that, but I must admit, I'm really here to give praise to the founding director of the African American Studies program. And I want to say something about founders because they're special people, especially founders of interdisciplinary programs. It may not be clear to us now how difficult it is to start something new in an academic campus. It requires enormous grit. The burden that falls on the first director of a program is one unlike any succeeding director. The founding director defines the mission in a real day-to-day way. The founding director invents the culture of the program that affects both faculty and students. And the tone of the program, how people treat one another, how they care for one another, and how they proceed in their work. So founders are special people. There's no guarantee that programs like the African American Studies program survive in academic campuses. Any program that cuts across the silos of the university is ripe for attack, no matter what the field is. The fact that this program is celebrating its 10th birthday is notable and laudatory of the founder. I have a special reverence for interdisciplinary programs because I know what a constant fight it is for the director to grab time of faculty from the silos in which they exist. It's something that the students sometimes aren't privy to, but it's the work of a director to make sure that the academic program of the curriculum survives and that students are exposed to the best faculty to teach those matters. So in a real sense, the founding director has to be courageous. The founding director takes on all the rules that were written for programs that aren't like the program she or he is running. They have to have the courage of a lion in a real sense. But courage alone doesn't do it, because you also have to have the diplomacy of an ambassador, because sugar sometimes works better than sheer power. And then finally, because missteps in the early days of an interdisciplinary program are so easy to fall into, you need wisdom, the wisdom of a sage. So the courage of a lion, the diplomacy of a diplomat, and the wisdom of a sage. Angie Mitchell comes to my mind on all three of those. And she did it with grace and skill. And we thank her for that. All of us should thank her for that. I know she's looking forward to a year where some of the things I just went through aren't on her plate, but are on somebody else's plate. And that she can return to her scholarship in full glory. And that book on Toni Morrison will come out very quickly. I think we all hope. So on behalf of all of us, I thank you for your wisdom and your courage and your fortitude through all of these early years. You've created a legacy that will be here forever. And we thank you for this new institution at Georgetown, 10 years old. It's fairly new for a 225-year history. But we are in your debt, and I thank you.
And now back to our program. So the next two speakers that we'll have, so we'll have Dr. Chatelain, who is an assistant professor of history and a core faculty member in the African American Studies program. We'll talk in more detail about, the discipline of African American Studies, which is important. And then we'll have a special treat. We weren't in the same class, but we did have time here together at Georgetown. Ms. Haven Ward, who I call a minor before there was a minor, because if Angie Mitchell was teaching a class, Haven was in it. Right? And she probably could have satisfied the requirements for the minor all through Dr. Mitchell.
Hi, everyone. One of the things that's really fantastic about this celebration is an opportunity to think about African American studies broadly outside of the context of Georgetown and its impact. And although the first African American Studies Department was established at San Francisco State University in 1969, which was a result of a 5-month student strike that forced California's public institutions to respond to the demands of all of its academic citizens, African American scholarly and artistic production, its roots are far deeper and planted in the intellectual history of our nation's founding and foundations. From the time the poet Phyllis Wheatley wrote, "Some view our sable race with scornful eye, their color is a diabolic dye," to W.E.B. Du Bois's declaration, "The problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line," scholars and artists from an array of disciplines have investigated the interplay of African American diasporic origins, resistance and endurance, and expansive culture as it's decentered long-held epistemologies and reshaped questions of the self, justice, creativity, passion, and struggle. Today we celebrate the 10th anniversary of Georgetown's African American Studies program, and we also celebrate the 50th anniversary of the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Students who took my 2 classes today should be experts on the topic. The Civil Rights Act forced all institutions to uphold the rights of all its citizens, and as Georgetown University meets the challenges of our day by increasing the diversity of its faculty, asking critical questions about our Jesuit mission and the common good, and investing more of its resources to African American studies, we are invigorated by the progress that African American studies has facilitated and led, and we are chastened by the challenges that confront us. Growing racial resegregation in our schools, entire communities left behind, and acts of capitalism that reproduce physical and emotional violence among our most vulnerable, we know that the way out of our current moral and social morass is to look at the scholars whose passion for justice has yielded engaged scholarship that ensured all voices are heard. Thank you.
It's a real honor to be here today. I was asked to speak as a minor before the minor existed. I think that's because a Dr. Mitchell stalker probably didn't sound as good for being scheduled today. I took 6 classes with Dr. Mitchell when I was an undergrad at Georgetown. The only reason I didn't take 8 was because I did not discover her until my sophomore year of college. I remember my classmates, I was an 01 grad, I remember my classmates and I agitating to found an African American Studies program and have it funded. And the fact that we are here today celebrating its 10th anniversary is amazing to me. Even more amazing is the fact that Dr. Mitchell hasn't aged a day. So I'll be finding out what her face cream is after this. Dr. Mitchell had an absolutely profound impact on me. She not only taught me a lot about African American studies, history, literature, culture, but she fundamentally shaped who I am as a human being and a person today. I can't be thankful enough to her. I was going through some of my old papers for preparation for today, and I stumbled upon my law school application. I'm currently an attorney. And I wrote, as a white heterosexual participating in an institutional system biased in my favor, I am afforded the luxury of not being forced to interrogate my racial and sexual identity. However, one of the most important journeys of my life was and continues to be the evolution of my racial identity. And Dr. Mitchell was my guide. And I can't thank her enough for everything that she has done, both for me and I'm sure for the many students that have come through the African American Studies program.
So we'll have the next segment of the video presentation, and then we'll have the march on videos.
Dr. Mitchell serves as a perfect example of the importance of this different mode of producing knowledge. In her first collection of essays, which is a groundbreaking work that brings together some of the central texts on that theorize the African American literary tradition within the circle, Mitchell is able to demonstrate how there's an ongoing conversation about African American literature and bring it together in one collection. So she's really able to show the genealogy and the development of thought around a body of literature that heretofore had not been collected in one source. And so it's a very useful text, not only for the classroom, but also for the development of the tradition. Similarly, in her monograph, she's able to think about how Black women writers have contributed to ways of knowing through acts of recuperation. And so one of the things that's central to the Black women writers tradition, which she explores, is how they borrow from modes of expression that earlier generations used but went undocumented, were missing from the archive, or absences are vacant from the archive. And so one of the things that African American literary tradition does in particular, but Black studies does more broadly, is thinking about how to fill in the gaps that have been left in history. How, as Susan Lloyd Parks says, to dig for the bones and listen for the voices. And Dr. Mitchell, in her scholarship, as well as her role on campus as a teacher, really gets us to listen for those voices that have been silenced, or those voices that are hushed, and asks us to think about what these silences and these gaps mean.
With regard to freedom to remember, one of the interesting things about literary criticism and the work that we do in terms of literature has to do with epistemologies. And so even the terminology that she uses there, where she helps us to not think of slave narratives as that, but to think about them as emancipatory narratives, to focus on the construction of freedom as opposed to slavery, to think about how the texts were looking forward while they were thinking about the past, I think it's pretty important.
And most recently, the text that she co-edited with Danielle Taylor, the Cambridge Companion to African American Women Writers, I think is also a very important contribution to scholarship. And in some ways, it builds on those other projects to begin to pull together scholarship dealing with Black women writers and with the texts that focus on Black women's writing traditions. That's a crucial text as well, because it helps us to begin to think about them in these books in new ways.
Mitchell has impacted students that I've worked with, and actually I admire and respect her for what she did in the spring semester 2010. She helped fund a course that I taught called The Fire This Time. And in that class were 12 students who were outstanding and did really terrific work. It was a class where students found their voice, and it was great to revitalize The Fire This Time. It's one of those things where she's impacted more than just the students who she's taught, but students who I've worked with, because if it had not been for her support of that course, I would not have met those students, and I had an opportunity to revitalize The Fire This Time and write some amazing articles. And Dr. Mitchell has been tireless in working with the university to try to get additional faculty lines to make the African American Studies program a robust, critical, literary area, critical inquiry for our undergraduate students of all types, regardless of who that student is. And I think it was largely successful in launching the African American Studies program on campus.
So part of what I also want to draw attention to is the role that Angie has played as a mentor. When you think about Angela Mitchell at Georgetown, you think about African American Studies, you think about minority mentoring, you think about the graduate program, honors thesis advisor, master's thesis advisor, and all these different roles. But I will say that in the role as minority mentoring, this is how Dr. Colbert also got pushed toward the PhD program, and there's several other students who, because of her mentoring, because of her accessibility, her concern for the professoriate, but also the students at Georgetown, we were able to move forward. And this is a lot of the unpaid, unaccounted for labor that is significant to the institution, both symbolically and in terms of the material outcomes. And so I think that it's important to note that and to make visible that invisible work and how students are coming back even for this program today to talk about how Dr. Mitchell was the director of African American Studies before there was an African American Studies program to be a director of. And I don't think that we should lose sight of that, and we should always be grateful for that and record that in the system.
Provost Groves spoke about Charge of a Lion and
gracefulness of a diplomat and the wisdom of a philosopher. Angie, as you would know well, I would add, I think for a job like this, you need the stomach of a goat. It's helpful if you're going to endure and succeed, and you have. And I think you know what I mean when I say that. Because you never know what you're going to be eating and digesting and running something for a university. What this program has done is it has showcased a discipline and a body of knowledge that many people may not be familiar with. It may be disparate for some, it may be completely foreign to others, but there's a significant body of knowledge which is explored and which is advanced, and which is enhanced, and which is taught in this program. It's an important body of knowledge for our student body to be acquainted with. It's an important body of knowledge for every American, every citizen of the world to be acquainted with. This program gives us a formal way to do that. And students obviously have found their way to it. The program is supported by the College Dean's Office. It's supported completely financially from our office, and this is what I would consider a good investment. It's been a wise investment, and a wise investment returns significant dividends. And the dividends here are not monetary, and I'm not expecting those. But the dividends we have seen on the screen from your former students and from the faculty, the investment they have made, and the advance of knowledge that Georgetown is on the forefront of in African American Studies, are the dividends that this program has paid for us. I recently met with the faculty of the program, and we had dinner together as well as a meeting, and I was struck by not the history of the program, but the current passion for the program. Angie, it's in good hands, you don't have to worry. Certainly with Robert, you can tell it's in good hands. There's no question about that, but not only Robert, all the faculty members who are participating are very passionate about it and very excited about it and deeply invested in it. I know Provost Grove said that it's hard to draw people away from their own disciplines, and that's true. But I think in this case, it's maybe more attractive to them in some ways to participate in this program. It's an easy sell because it's so important to do it, and there's only a handful of people doing it, and they're doing it extremely well. I think it's the first 10 years, we'll just call it the first 10 years. And the first 10 years are a good foundation for what is going to grow and what is going to be richer and deeper. And more important in this campus and in the academy going forward. There's no question about that. And a lot of that is your legacy. And there will be others who follow because they've seen your leadership and they're willing to do the nitty-gritty work that you have done because that's what it takes to make the program work. And often it happens without a lot of thanks like this. I remember when I was in college, somebody gave me a Coca-Cola bottle with a rose in it and said there'd be a lot more Coke bottles in your life than roses. And I think that's true. Today we give you a rose, but we know that you've been carrying the Coke bottles the whole time. You've been doing the work. We have a gift from the college for you, and I'm going to read the inscription because I hand wrote it, and this will be the one time anybody will be able to read it. It's a little bit like my students when they say, and I have a long paragraph in the paper, they say, "What does this say?" A week later, I say, "I think it says B." April 10th, 2014, dear Angie, in gratitude for your leadership and devoted service to the African American Studies program, you have set a course and a standard for others to follow. We, students, professors, and administrators, are grateful for your consistent commitment and for your vision. With gratitude, Chester Willis Dean, Georgetown College.
I was pleased to hear about the importance of the program, and I also probably should have mentioned at the beginning of the program, we've been taping it, so its importance, which is exciting. Oops. Okay, so a significant part of the program has been, we've had two phenomenal student assistants, research assistants, undergraduates. Okay? Khadijah Davis. Wait, she's taking a seat. And Esther Owolabi. I have a nickname for Esther, but I won't call her that. The students have nicknames for me, so we have nicknames for each other. But part of what I wanted people also to see was the level of student engagement. And so I just asked Esther to come forward to talk briefly about the upcoming courses for students who may be here, for students who may be enrolling in Georgetown next year. And then we'll be moving into the final moments of the program. After she finishes that, we'll go to the thank you. This is the thank you video, and then I'll have one final presentation to make, and then that'll wrap up. We have a reception to in the Davis lobby to the left-hand side with my left side here.
Thank you for coming. I have loved my time at Georgetown, especially because of the African American Studies program. I've taken a course, I think almost every semester. I'm also Dr. Mitchell's daughter. I'm currently in 2 courses actually, Black Women Writers with Dr. Mitchell and Black Popular Culture with Dr. Patterson, and they have just been great and have really expanded my knowledge about Black studies and African American studies, and the history and literature has just really been a very rich experience for me. Next semester, I think some of you have a little quarter sheet in your programs. We will be having a plethora of courses available. Almost every professor, core faculty members teaching a course. We'll have an Intro to African American Studies course, and we'll have plenty of other courses. And we also have a cross list. If you're interested in learning more about the program, come speak to many of the professors that are here today. Khadijah and I are also here to give you, student on-the-ground experience in these courses. And you can also check out our website, africanamericanstudies.georgetown.edu for more information. Thank you.
Thank Dr. Mitchell for all of her hard work and dedication for the African American Studies program over the last few years. Hi, Dr. Mitchell. Thanks so much for all your help. You're really inspirational teacher.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mitchell, for all that you have done for me, for the African American community, for the Georgetown community. Now, all I want to say is let the church say amen.
Very much, Dr. Mitchell, for running this program. It has been a great experience in my life and the lives of a lot of other Georgetown students.
Dr. Mitchell, I so wish I could be there today to celebrate with you because you've been such an influential part of my becoming a scholar. When I think about my life and my work, I think about you often telling us in class that difference is not deviance. And this is such an important lesson to learn because it reminds us that we do not have to continue to inscribe social and racial hierarchies, but we can think about how our world is shaped through its diversity. As I think about the legacy that you've left, I think about how you've made our world more open and loving place, and I'm so happy to be a part of this endeavor with you moving forward as a part of Georgetown. Congratulations.
You were actually one of the first teachers whose office that I could just go in and feel comfortable enough to sit down and talk with, and I'm really appreciative of that. It means so much to me, and I'm really thankful just for the things that you taught me. Your Toni Morrison class was lovely, and unfortunately I don't have a Toni Morrison quote on hand. I do apologize, and I don't mean to disappoint you.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell, for all your years here, contributing to Georgetown. I'm really excited to get to know you as my English academic advisor.
The great Dizzy Gillespie once said about jazz, and he said about Louis Armstrong, know you know me. And what he meant that without the work of Louis Armstrong, there would be no Dizzy Gillespie. Another person there, Louis Armstrong, this was Benny Goodman. All American music starts and ends with Louis Armstrong. Well, I think we can say that pretty much the same of Angie Mitchell, that without Angie Mitchell, no African American Studies program. We started in the program with her and her efforts to begin the program some 10 years ago.
Dr. Mitchell, I just want to thank you so much for all you've done for me, all of my classmates, and everyone who's ever taken one of your classes here at Georgetown. The African American Studies program has been just the most wonderful community.
Hi, Dr. Mitchell. You're amazing. Thank you for all your support, your instruction, your guidance. You make my time here at Georgetown phenomenal, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mitchell.
Georgetown. I was so excited and I wanted the job so badly. But after I met Angie, I knew that I had to be here because I knew that I would have an advocate, I would have a friend on the faculty, and I would have a person who would always appreciate what I had to offer. So I'm so thrilled to be here, and I'm really thrilled that Angie laid the groundwork for changing Georgetown, and I know for changing my life. Thank you.
To just know that I have someone who's fighting for me, who's willing to work with me, and just sees the good within me and tells me what that is remarkable. And I just want you to know that you have touched so many lives, and in the short period of time that you have touched mine, it has just been amazing.
So in a nutshell, I would say that it's been wonderful working with Dr. Mitchell. I look forward to many more years of engagement. I think she has led the African American Studies program with great sacrifice. She's an associate professor with tenure, and I would love to see her ultimately achieve the goal of sitting in a shared full professorship on her campus because of the amount of work that she has done, her dedication, her commitment to her students.
I just want to, conclude by saying to Dr. Mitchell, thank you for all that you have done in terms of your service, your leadership, your teaching. You have had a tremendous role in the hires for the program, and we're very grateful for that and look forward to building upon the solid foundation that you have laid and the legacy that we have inherited, and we are looking forward to that. And I suppose I would be remiss not to include a Morrison quote in my I was beloved, where we were reminded that freeing the self was one thing, claiming ownership of that freed self is another. And so now we are freeing you from all the responsibility of the African American Studies program, and we know that you're going to claim ownership of that freed self.
Angie Mitchell, would you please step forward? So I'll read it and then I will show it to you all and we'll take a picture with each other. The African American Studies program honors Dr. Angela Mitchell, founding director 2003 to 2013, for a decade of visionary leadership, teaching, and mentoring. The Georgetown University community appreciates your contributions and is thankful for your generosity. African American Studies 10-year anniversary celebration, April 10, 2014.
Hi, I just want to thank all of you for being with us today, and I want to thank Dr. Patterson and Esther and Khadijah for this beautiful, beautiful moment. I can't do this without saying something from Ms. Morrison I was trying really hard not to, but I'm thinking of the closing lines of her Nobel lecture, and she writes, "Look, how lovely this thing we have done together. Thank you so very much for all of your support through the years, for this day, and for the continued support of the African American Studies here at Georgetown University as it grows stronger and stronger. Thank you.
There are many thank yous. One of the other items that you'll get, Angie, is there's much more video footage. And so I think that Esther will give you an unredacted version of each segment. But putting this program together, being the director of the African American Studies program, and it's not happened by my own efforts. And so I would like to acknowledge all of the administrators who were here, those who are still here, for the support that they've given to me and to the program and to the celebration. I cannot underscore enough how central to this particular celebration Khadijah and Esther have been. I want to thank them. I know that it has been a joy working with me on this. And probably no cakewalk, but I really appreciate it. I appreciate your commitment right up to the last moment. So I want to say thank you for that, and I'm looking forward to our next year working together as well. I want to say thank you to the core faculty who are present. If you could stand up. Stand up. You have done and are continuing to do it, and are continuing to do the mentoring for the program, and just your commitment. So I appreciate that, and thank you for that. I have to say this. I have to give Maurice Jackson a special thank you too. He has been in the trenches during this whole time as well, and even before the program started. Maurice is also here finishing up his PhD. And so I want to say thank you, Maurice, for your leadership and guidance. And then last but certainly not least, our curriculum would not be able to be fulfilled were it not for the efforts of our affiliated faculty, who often cross-list courses for us, who our students also meet within their respective majors, and keep this synergy between the programs. So if our affiliated faculty might stand to want to acknowledge you and say thank you. Ricardo wants to be here. Again, we look forward to not only seeing you on campus, we look forward to seeing you at the 15th year, hopefully in 4 years. And so we look forward to that. We look forward to you partaking with very good food in the lobby during the reception, and congratulating and speaking to Angie directly. And again, just thank you very much, and we appreciate you coming out to show your support today. Thanks.